every once in a while, I'll read in the comments, somebody says, JB, you've been talking about this collapse for 2 years. Somebody over here may say, this guy's been talking about this collapse for a year, 2 years. A crisis takes a much longer time coming than you think. Then when that crisis happens, it happens much faster than you thought. It's Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019. Thanks for joining me today. Please remember to like this video, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you share this video with everyone you know. Share it all over your social media. As you know, the algorithms are not recommending small channels like this. They're recommending the CNNs, the ABCs, the CBSs, the MSNBCs, the RTs, the Foxes, all the large networks. So please make sure you get this video out there. Make sure you share it. Thank you. I want to start off today, and I want to talk about this video that's been circulating, started circulating yesterday in regards to what happened in New York to the NYPD. Now, we've been talking about the power outages in New York and throughout the country, and I have read some comments where people just think that it's no big deal. You know, the power outages of 50,000 people without power in New York City, not a big deal. And I think what we saw on this video yesterday, and you can Google it, go on YouTube, NYPD doused with water by people while they're making an arrest. And this happened in Harlem and in Brooklyn. And if you haven't seen it, the cops are arresting an individual while literally the entire neighborhood is out there with water, buckets of water, dousing them with it, throwing projectiles at them. One individual throws an empty bucket and hits one of the officers in the head while he's making an arrest. And so on another video, two cops are walking and they're being completely doused with buckets of water while everybody is laughing and ridiculing them. And it just really makes you think, first off, just to see law enforcement being demoralized like that. And I'm not going to sit here and stand up for everybody in law enforcement. I mean, there are some bad apples, but there's bad apples in every group. But we must have some rule of law in our streets, or, you know, we're going to be living in anarchy. This, to me, is so dangerous, watching people just demoralizing our police, ridiculing them, mocking them, laughing about it, and our police basically stand down. And we're seeing too much of this taking place. When I see what's happening to the police in New York, in the good times, in the booming economy, in the best times that, you know, the media has been telling us we've been having, in this incredible era of wage growth, job growth, stock market boom, you name it, I see how animalistic people can be. And I have to just think about what these cities would look like if the power was out for a couple days, 3 days, what have you. I mean, these people are just attacking police officers for entertainment. What happens when these people don't have water or food? When they don't have air conditioning, when maybe their cell phone's not working, when the EBT's not coming in? What do you think these people are capable of then? If they're capable of doing this to the police in the good times, what are people capable of doing to the police or to you when the bad times come to America? And I'm here to remind you, those bad times are on their way, and they're much closer than most people think. If someone would comment down below and give me the statistics, the facts of how we're in a good economy based on some real numbers, I would be interested to see that, because I continue to see very negative news regarding this economy. An article I was reading today on Zero Hedge is talking about our politicians on both sides, the left and the right, and how we're basically being sold out. We just raised the debt ceiling again, and most people in America are completely unconscious. They're oblivious, or they just don't care. And I'm here to tell those people, you're going to care when the day of reckoning comes. You're going to care when your pension goes bust. You're going to care when you're working at 85 years old because you have no pension, your 401k is gone, and your country's been gutted. Then maybe you're going to care. But unfortunately, at that point, it's going to be too late for you, and it's probably going to be too late for America if we do not get this situated right now. Here's a stat for every one of you. I'm sure most of you know this. In the last 10 years, we added $11.4 trillion of debt. Politicians have been stealing, I mean, get this breakdown. Your politicians have been stealing $100 million a day your politicians have been stealing $100 million every single hour of every single day since the last crash. By 2020, we'll be approaching $25 trillion of debt. We are never going to pay off the debt we have now, and we are certainly not going to be paying off 25 or 30 trillion dollars of debt, and this is what's coming. The borrower, which is going to be you and I, we are just going to be servants to this debt. America is going to continue to borrow money, and we're going to be a servant to possibly China. I mean, I know people out there just can't grasp this. They just believe that America could never fall. They don't believe that the American dollar could ever stop being the world reserve currency. Most people don't even know what the world reserve currency means. They have no idea. They just know that they don't even know what a dollar is anymore because they use plastic cards. We're using electronic money. So people can spend it more freely, more easily. They can go to credit cards and spend money they don't have. People have lost touch of reality, and this is why your country is failing. And this is why China, no matter how much debt they have, no matter how bad the media is telling you that their economy is, China makes stuff. China manufactures stuff. China manufactures more steel than anybody in the world. China is accumulating gold. China is preparing for the long game. They are in this, okay? They're not living for today. They're not living in this party of today. They are looking down the road, and they are preparing themselves for the transfer, for this power transfer. The torch is going to be passed on to China as the Asian markets are going to be the biggest markets in the world, China being the biggest manufacturer in the world, China having the biggest bank in the world. Unfortunately, and as sad as it is to even think that America is going to fall while China, a communist country, is going to rule the world. And that is what is happening right now. And I don't know if it can be avoided at this point. I really don't know. And it really saddens me to even think that. And it's going to be even more sad for your kids and your grandchildren because they're going to live under this, okay? I've seen the good times in America, and I'm seeing America change. But I can't even imagine if it does not change quickly what America is going to look like 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. I mean, do you want to live under the rule of a communist country? I don't. But here's what else is going on. We look at the auto industry. If you think things are really, really good, drive by an auto lot in your area. You're going to see an ocean of cars, acres of cars, cars on top of cars. I actually had two friends go and buy cars, and they didn't even have to fill out a credit app in order to get a car. And so we're probably going to see some really exotic subprime type loans, very lenient credit checks in order to get these cars off the lots. And as you know, 7 million people are severely delinquent on their auto payments right now, 90 days plus delinquent on making their auto payment. So how many people are 30, 60 days behind that we don't even know about? So we have millions upon millions of people driving cars. You're driving past people right now today that haven't made a car payment in 3 or 4 or 5 months. Auto sales in the US and China have been deteriorating for 18 months. The auto industry is rapidly right now heading into a depression. And if you don't believe me, just go drive by a car lot. And as I've said earlier, people are buying cars without even credit checks now. So this is just going to be repeating more of the same irresponsibility that we saw back in 08, 07, 06, 05, where people were getting subprime loans, buying houses they couldn't afford. They're buying cars they can't afford. They're leasing cars they can't afford. And these dealers literally have so many cars that they're going to do anything just to get the cars off the lot so they can squeeze another one in. And so what happens, what is going to happen in the auto sector with millions and millions of people that cannot afford these cars? I mean, the repo man must be extremely busy. Another interesting article I read this morning on Zero Hedge. Despite plunging rates, existing home sales slow for the 16th straight month. We are witnessing the stock market at all-time highs. We're witnessing job growth, wage growth. Why, with low rates, are we not seeing record-breaking housing numbers? Home prices are too high. Wages are not keeping up with the cost of living. And although the stock market is at all-time highs based on manipulation, cheap money, corporate buybacks, most people are not invested in the stock market. Although a lot of people do have a pension invested in the stock market that is going to be obliterated, for the most part, most people are living paycheck to paycheck and cannot even afford to buy an overpriced stock right now. So they're not in the stock market. The closest they're in the stock market is if they have a pension, and that pension is in the market, which, as I've said, is probably going to get wiped out. So again, the media is telling us that we've never seen such great economic times, unemployment at all-time lows, record low interest rates, yet housing is slowing. This is the good times, ladies and gentlemen. Housing market is slowing. Retail is in an apocalypse. The auto industry is heading into a depression. What are you going to see when the bad times hit America, when we have that so-called correction that's coming? And it's going to be quite a correction, let me tell you. Here's another one out of Zero Hedge. I advise everybody to read this one. JP Morgan, we believe the dollar could lose its status as world reserve currency. I'm going to paraphrase through this article, read it. This is a fact. This is what JP Morgan is saying. If somebody wants to comment down below and tell me why they think this economy is booming, I'm more than happy to hear it, but I'm going to give you 10 reasons why it's not. And JP Morgan, this article tells you that you better prepare. We believe the dollar could lose its status as the world dominant currency due to structural reasons as well as cyclical impediments. Diversifying dollar exposure by placing a higher weighting on other currencies in developed markets like Asia, as well as precious metals, makes sense today. Dominant international currency has changed many times throughout history. China is now the epicenter as economic growth shifts to Asia. This isn't me saying this. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is JP Morgan, right here. JP Morgan owning the largest vaults in America. JP Morgan owning the most amount of silver, the most amount of physical silver. They own more physical above ground silver than anyone combined. We all know why the Fed is going to continue cutting rates at the end of July. Now, I believe it will be 25 basis points. I believe they're going to continue to lower 25 basis points, another 25, another 25, another 25. There's people out there saying right now they could get very aggressive and lower 50 basis points at the end of July. That's possible, but I think they're going to stretch it out. And I think we'll see a full point by early next year. But I think it's all going to really start here at the end of July, 25, then a 25, another 25, and another 25. So we're literally going to be very close to 0% interest rates, right about 1% in 2020. Most of us know that we are very overdue for a correction in these markets. And all they're doing by lowering these rates is postponing this economic tsunami that is lurking. And they're doing everything they can to postpone it. And it's going to be a rate cut, another rate cut, and a rate cut. But by postponing this collapse, they're making this collapse much, much more dangerous. This economy that we're in right now is in worse shape than the economy was before the 2008 crash. The Fed has printed so much money, it has inflated so many bubbles, not a bubble, but it has inflated massive multiple bubbles. And when one of these bubbles gets pricked and pops, they're all going to pop. And what's also concerning is we're now watching a global slowdown. We're going to see a global depression taking place. It's not going to just be us, but we're now at the mercy of other countries. If a Deutsche Bank melts down, it's going to affect America. If a big bank in China melts down, it affects America. These emerging markets that borrowed money from us cannot pay us back. We're printing money 24 hours a day, hand over fist, devaluing the US dollar. And all the Fed has left up its sleeve is to print money and lower rates. We're almost at zero right now. The Fed at this point needs to raise rates, not lower rates. But ask yourself, if things were so great, how come we are lowering rates? Why wouldn't we be raising rates? Schiff said, I watched a video with Peter Schiff today. He made a really good point. He says that the stock market must crash, the real estate market must crash, and the bond market must crash. It's all got to go down. And America must control its spending. But nothing is going to get fixed until all this crashes. It is inevitable that it's going to crash. Mathematically, it's going to crash, and it has to crash. Things must reset. We need to get to a gold standard. We need to get out of this printing of money or creating money on digital screens that is backed by nothing, that doesn't exist. These markets will crash. They must crash. And most of all, America must get its house in order and control its spending. If you make $25,000 a year and you spend $100,000 a year, how long do you think you're going to last? How long do you think you're going to keep your car, your house, feed your kids, put shoes on your kids' feet? How long do you think this is going to go on before it's over? We've been living on a credit card as a country for decades. We're living way beyond our means. We're living way over our heads because we're able to print money. And America's had it very good. I think we've taken advantage of most of the world with the world reserve currency. I think we've really abused it. And now nobody wants to buy our treasury bonds. Countries are dumping US dollars, US treasuries. And who's buying all these treasury bonds? Who's buying it? We're buying it, okay? I mean, does that make any sense to you? We're buying our own treasury bonds to keep this facade, this illusion going. How long can this go on? You can tweak and play with interest rates all day long. The Fed has 2 percentage points to work with. Once we are in a deep recession, we need 4 to 5% to lower to get out. We need to drop 4 to 5% on interest rates to get out of a recession. So what does that tell you? They don't have enough to do it. They're in a corner. They've got big trouble. Here's what America is going to see coming in the not too distant future. And when you see this, it's game over. Baby boomers are going to sell stocks. They're going to flood to the exits to dump their stocks. You'll see equities collapse. You're going to see credit seize up, and you're going to see pension funds default. At this point, all hell is breaking loose. If you don't own hard assets, if you don't have gold and silver, at this point, you won't be getting it. So really pay attention to what's going on right now in America. It's very dangerous. What we're going to witness is going to be biblical. This is what's coming. This is going to wake people up. But by the time those people wake up, it's too late. Don't be one of those people. Wake up right now. Get prepared. The writing is on the wall. It couldn't be more obvious what's coming, what's already begun right now in your country.